Ever feel like you're working on yourself every single day, but nothing in your life is actually changing? You set big goals, stay motivated for 3 days, and then crash. But the problem isn't your willpower. It's that you're trying to change your results without changing the one hidden setting driving your brain. In Atomic Habits, James Clear reveals the secret. Stop focusing on what you want to achieve and start focusing on who you want to become. Don't try to read 50 books. Tell yourself, I am a reader. Your brain naturally aligns with your identity. Pair that with the 2-minute rule, shrinking any new habit down so it takes under 2 minutes to start, and you break the cycle forever. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. Save this video and subscribe to Fix Your System today. Let's get started.
Think back to January 1st for a second. You probably set this massive, super ambitious goal for the year, right? You were incredibly motivated, totally ready to change your life. But then, bam, February hits. That motivation completely evaporates and the goal is just abandoned. Well, welcome to today's Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here because we are tackling a question that has frustrated literally every single one of us at some point. Why do these massive goals so often end in total failure? You know, we're constantly sold this myth that success requires radical, overnight change. We think that to get fit or build wealth or master a new skill, we basically have to upend our entire lives. But the incredible research we're looking at today from James Clear's best-selling book, Atomic Habits, completely shatters that illusion. Because it turns out the secret to meaningful progress isn't about grand transformations at all. It's actually about tiny, almost invisible changes. Okay, let's dive into this because this single number right here changes absolutely everything. 1%. James Clear outlines a mathematical truth that is as simple as it is mind-blowing. If you can get just 1% better every single day, you don't just become a little bit better over time. Thanks to the magic of compounding, you actually end up 37 times better by the end of a single year. 37 times better. That is not just an improvement, it's a completely different stratosphere. It's basically the compound interest of self-improvement. But, you know, the reverse is also deeply true. If you get 1% worse each day, you decline nearly down to absolute zero. These small daily decisions, they might not seem noticeable in the moment, but man, they accumulate into something extraordinary. So if small changes are literally that powerful, why is it so incredibly hard to stick to them? Well, it's because we inevitably hit what's known as the valley of disappointment. Whenever we start a new habit, we just kind of expect our progress to be perfectly linear, right? We expect to go to the gym for 3 days and immediately see a six-pack in the mirror. But true growth is much more like an iceberg. The vast majority of the work is happening completely beneath the surface, in what Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. And when you're putting in all that work and seeing zero results, you feel completely stuck. You feel like quitting, and honestly, most people do. But think of this explainer as a personal reminder that your hard work isn't being wasted, it's simply being stored. You're building this massive foundation beneath the surface, just waiting for that breakthrough moment. Now, to actually survive that valley, we need a fundamental shift in our focus. We live in a world that is just completely obsessed with goals, the outcomes we want to achieve. But James Clear makes this brilliant argument that we should actually ignore our goals and focus entirely on our systems, the daily processes and habits we follow. And why? Because, as he puts it, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Think about it. If a coach and a player both have the exact same goal to win a championship, what actually separates them from the rest of the league? It's not the goal. Everyone has that goal. It's their system of daily practice. If you want better results, you don't need a better goal. You need a better system. So how do we actually build that system? Well, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the habit loop, then we'll run through the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. And finally, we'll wrap up with your personal action plan. Let's kick things off with the actual engine that drives human behavior, the habit loop. Every single habit you have, whether it's a good one or a bad one, follows this exact 4-step neurological feedback loop. First up, there's a cue, a trigger that tells your brain to initiate a behavior. Second is the craving. That's the motivational force or the feeling you're desiring. Third is the response, the actual habit or action you perform. And finally, the reward, the end goal that satisfies your craving and basically teaches your brain to repeat the whole cycle next time. Cue, craving, response, reward. To master our habits, we absolutely have to master these 4 stages. Which brings us right into law number 1, make it obvious. This is entirely about harnessing the power of the cue. The reason we start here is that the human brain is incredibly sensitive to its environment. If you want to build a new habit, you really can't rely on vague intentions like, oh, I'll exercise more this week. You have to clearly state exactly when and where it will happen, because time and location are the most powerful triggers for the mind. But what's really fascinating about this framework is that every single law has a direct inversion for breaking bad habits. So, to build a good habit, you make the cue obvious. Want to read more? Literally put a book right on your pillow in the morning so you absolutely can't miss it when you go to bed. But if you want to break a bad habit, you just make the cue invisible. If social media is distracting you from working, don't rely on sheer willpower. That never works. Just leave your phone in another room. You can completely reshape your behavior simply by redesigning your environment. Take highly successful venture capitalist Fred Wilson as a perfect example of this in action. He doesn't wake up just hoping he'll feel inspired to work or read or exercise. Instead, he anchors his daily routines entirely to specific time and location cues. Waking up, pouring that first cup of afternoon coffee, brushing his teeth, going to bed, or even just crossing the threshold into his home office, these are all pre-existing anchors. By tying a new habit to a strong existing time or location cue, which is a strategy known as habit stacking, your brain practically goes on autopilot. You aren't forcing the habit anymore. The environment itself is just prompting it. Let's move on to Law 2, make it attractive. This directly addresses the craving stage of the loop. Look, human beings are biologically wired to seek out rewards. When we anticipate something pleasurable, our brains release dopamine, and that dopamine spike is what actually drives us to act. So if a behavior isn't appealing, we naturally resist it. We have to make it irresistible. And one of the absolute best psychological hacks for this is called temptation bundling. Basically, you pair an action you want to do with an action you absolutely need to do. Picture this. You know you need to get on the treadmill, but sitting on the couch sounds infinitely better, right? The friction is just too high. So you make a strict rule. You are only allowed to watch your absolute favorite, most binge-worthy Netflix show while you are running on that treadmill. By bundling the temptation of that dopamine-heavy show with the friction of the workout, a previously difficult habit instantly becomes incredibly attractive to your brain. Next up is Law 3, make it easy, which is all about the response. This law plays on a very simple, universal truth. Human nature follows the law of least effort. We will naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. We so often trick ourselves into thinking we just need more motivation to get things done, but honestly, what we actually need is less friction. Enter the ultimate secret weapon, the 2-minute rule. When you start a new habit, downscale it until it takes less than 2 minutes to do. A daunting goal like read a whole book causes immense friction and instant procrastination, so you downscale it to read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of grueling yoga becomes something that sounds almost ridiculously easy. Take out my yoga mat. The goal here isn't to actually do the whole task right away, it's to master the art of showing up. Because once you take out that mat, inertia takes over. You cast a tiny vote for your new identity, and you'll find it so much easier to just keep going once you've started. And finally, we arrive at Law 4, make it satisfying. This is all about the reward. So the first 3 laws increase the odds that you'll perform a behavior this time, but this final law ensures you'll actually repeat it next time. For a behavior to stick long-term, the reward must feel immediately and tangibly satisfying. Our brains heavily prioritize immediate rewards over delayed ones. To really understand how to manufacture this, look at the story of a rookie stockbroker named Trent Dursmid. He used a totally brilliant method called the paperclip strategy. Every morning, he started with 2 jars on his desk, one empty and one filled with exactly 120 paperclips. He would pick up the phone, make a sales call, and then immediately move 1 paperclip from the full jar to the empty jar. Imagine that sensory experience for a second, the physical clink of the metal clip hitting the bottom of the glass jar. Call, move a clip, call, move a clip. He literally didn't stop until all 120 clips were moved. Moving that paperclip provided an immediate, highly satisfying visual reward. It's such a perfect, tangible example of habit tracking in action. Trent wasn't just staring at some massive, intimidating goal of make more money by the end of the year. He was executing a flawless, daily, deeply satisfying system. And again, this beautifully anchors the core philosophy of James Clear's work. You fall to the level of your systems. When your system is visually satisfying and immediately rewarding, your long-term success basically becomes inevitable. All right, now it's time for your action plan, transforming your identity. we've covered a ton of ground today, and the psychology behind all of this is just incredible. But listen, information without application is just entertainment. I want you to stop just consuming information right now and start actively building a new identity. Remember, true behavior change is identity change. The goal isn't just to read a book, the goal is to become a reader. To help you start that transformation today, walk through these 4 actionable steps. First, clearly identify a specific goal or habit you want to work on. Second, design a plan using the 4 laws we just talked about. Exactly how will you make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying? Third, track your progress. Get your own version of those paper clips to visually celebrate those small successes. And fourth, seek out support. Maybe grab an accountability partner to keep that momentum going when the friction feels a bit too high. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought from James Clear. Every single action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs overnight, but as those votes build up, the evidence of your new identity becomes undeniable. So, I have to ask you, who are you voting for today? Drop a comment below right now with a tiny 1% habit you are going to start voting with today. And hey, if this explainer helped you understand how to build better systems, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next breakdown. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I absolutely can't wait to see the incredible systems you build.